My name is Sarah, and today I'm going to be going over how I learned to dismount from a truck stand. Now, truck stands are one of the beginner truck tricks that a lot of new freestylers start to learn pretty early on, and they are a lot of fun to do. I personally really struggled to get into truck stand a lot more than I did to get out of it, but because getting out of truck stand can be pretty intimidating, I want to share with you the small steps I took to be confident enough to actually dismount with a half flip out of truck stand, as this can be quite scary. Before trying this trick, I definitely recommend working on some hippie jumps or any trick that you currently do where you can jump onto the bolts of the skateboard, as getting over that fear of jumping on the bolts is a pretty high bar, especially when you're standing as high on the board as the truck and jumping onto it. So any trick that you can practice that will help you jump back on the bolts, even if it's just a hippie jump, is great practice before you start to actually try to learn how to dismount. All you need to do is place your back foot on top of the lower truck. I try to keep the ball of my foot over the width of the truck's base plate, and grab the nose or tail, whatever's in the air, with your front hand. I place my thumb on the skid plate or graphic toward the toe side's edge, and I place my other fingers on the grip on the other half of the nose. I like my thumb and fingers to be a little spaced out if I can, because I like to keep a tight grip on the deck. There's almost always a little bit of tension between my thumb and fingers when I do any truck trick. This helps me hold on a little better and keeps the board a little more still, because I can adjust to any tipping in the toe side or heel side direction. The first baby step is to simply lift your back foot off the truck straight up into the air and gently push your thumb forward. Just let the deck roll forward to the ground. As it hits the ground, try to bring your back foot down and back to the bolts. It's that gentle and simple. No jumping, nothing. Just relax and get a feel for how the board rotates 180 degrees forward. The second step is almost the same as the first one. However, I added a little balancing. So I set up with my back foot on the trucks, front foot on the ground, and front hand gripping the nose. Then I would simply pull my front foot off the ground and balance for a moment. Place it back down, and then repeat step one. Lift my foot, roll the board toe side, and put my back foot back on the bolts. This was just to start to bring both motions into my practice steps. The third step is where it starts to get a little harder. I brought my front foot off the ground, and then I did a little hop in order to get my back foot off of the truck. Flipped the board slightly toe side so that the grip faced me again, and tried to get my back foot back on the bolts. This is a big jump in difficulty, but there are a few things you can keep in mind. First of all, you can safely step back off the board by slightly leaning back when doing this in the beginning. You have a lot of space to land back on the ground, and simply moving your shoulders back a little bit will encourage your body to jump a little bit backwards and away from the board. Also, I do hesitate to use the word hop off the truck because it's not a jump. This is very gentle. Pay attention to my shoulders. When I hop off of the truck with my back foot, my shoulders don't move a lot. That's because I'm not really jumping into the air. I put a little pressure into my foot so I can pull that foot up off the truck just enough to clear the deck. No need for big jumps or big pushes. If you can just lift that foot up, you're golden. So you just need a little bit of pressure so that you can bring that foot off the truck. I also do not intentionally push the board forward with my foot. The flip is all in the hand. It might look like the board is rotating because of my foot, but it's not. The rotation comes from my hand. It looks like this because the more you do this trick, the more your hop and flip start to become a very in sync motion. And before you move on, just make sure you can do this third step with your shoulders staying directly above the board, because that's kind of the key for the fourth step. In the fourth step, you don't need to do anything different, except keep that front foot right over the front truck. This is the scariest part, but if you flipped the board 100 times and landed with the back foot on it, you should have built up quite a bit of confidence and skill in order to try this next step. You can see here, the only difference is that I bring my front foot and I just hold it above the front trucks. And then I do that little tiny hop and flip the board. My front foot does absolutely nothing. It just stays over the front bolts. This is intimidating, which is why one other thing that might help is starting off really low. Now, this is not a proper truck stand at all, but in the beginning, I did start off at this really low angle. My foot is almost completely on top of the truck, which is definitely not ideal, but my feet were much lower to the ground, so it was a lot easier to commit closer to the ground. Just be aware that there will be a very different weight and balance point at this angle, so I suggest experimenting with what you think you can try confidently. If you feel confident to just go straight into flipping the board and jumping back on the bolts at the proper angle, then that's awesome. But if it's a little intimidating and you want to try something closer to the ground, I think that practicing this is not bad, because you can gradually make your way up to the correct balancing point. Now the fifth step is to put it together with the whole trick. When I was learning truck stands, my truck stand looked like this for a long time. And in fact, since I haven't been practicing them that much lately, they still look like this a lot, with a lot of little foot touches. The other really big problem that I ran into was just where my body weight was centered when I did the flip. There were many attempts where I accidentally landed much too heavy on the heel side or much too heavy on the toe side. And it was mostly because I was just leaning a little too far in one of those directions. But just keep practicing and they'll come faster and easier and smoother. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you got something out of it, and I hope to see you next time. Happy skating!